Hello, this video is for business executives, owners, and managers who want to go beyond what is taught in an MBA program or what a business consultant can provide. And it's also outside of what a Tony Robbins, a Daymond John, or a Brene Brown can give you. I'm going to be sharing with you the three core leverage points for any business, anywhere, at any time. My name is Jeffrey Schmidt, and for 3 decades, I've navigated the wild and wonderful world of marketing and advertising, helping businesses just like yours not only survive but thrive. And for the last 10 years, I've had the privilege of consulting with countless entrepreneurs, digging deep into their operations to unearth the hidden potential in their businesses. If you're in Northern California, you may have seen me speak at events for SCORE, the SBDC, CEO Focus, or entrepreneur organizations and chambers of commerce. My website, deepskymarketing.com, which I've renamed to Deep Sky Business Building, is packed with testimonials and case studies, pages and pages of happy clients who've seen real results. Today, we're diving headfirst into the three most critical leverage points for any business. And these are, number one, your business numbers. Number two, managing your business. And number three, it's what I like to call quantum know-how and what others might call your intuitive abilities. So first off, we're going to be talking about your numbers. Why are we starting here? Because translating the vision you have for your business into numbers is the easiest, best, and perhaps the only way to track your progress and define potential problems. If you've ever worked with a business consultant, the three questions you're going to be asked right up front are, where are you at now in your business? Where do you want to go with it? What's the plan to get there? The answers to these questions expressed in numbers is the best way to start the conversation, because the numbers have to make sense. One day, a very nice lady came to me and she said she had a food product that was going to reshape the way people thought about nutrition. The tale she told was that her product was tasty, healthy, and planet-friendly. Her vision was a global impact for this new food. So I asked her how that translated into the numbers for her business, and she said she wanted to make $100,000 a year. And to me, this made no sense. I said that a food company with global impact would be in the tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue per year. And at that time, the food market in the U.S. alone was close to $2 trillion. I said, as politely as I could, that $100,000 was not a realistic number for a company that was going to have a significant impact in a global market in the multiple trillions of dollars. We did not end up working together. Here is another example. This is a slide I put together for a talk I gave to the Redwood Empire Remodelers Association. On the top line is the total spending in Sonoma County for remodeling in a year by homeowners. This is known as the total available market, or TAM, for a business. You might want to write that down. The TAM for your business is a very important number. The 44 million is the total available market in Sonoma County for a home remodeler. On the second line of this slide is the number of remodeling companies in Sonoma County. So what happens when you divide the TAM by 55 companies? You get the average gross revenue per company of about $750,000. This is on line 3. A fact that you can look up in your AI is that the average net profit for a builder is 15 to 18% of gross revenue. This makes the average net profit for a remodeler in Sonoma County to be about $110,000 to $130,000. So my question to the remodelers in the meeting was, if you want more than the average gross and net profit for your company, how are you going to get there? Their answer was logical. You need to put more time and money into sales and marketing. Not a surprise, right? But before we move on, let me say that TAM is a bit of a squishy number, especially in this case, because a remodeler might get some business in neighboring counties and or have income from repair work, so a TAM can flex. With that said, having an approximation for the total available market for your business is a really good guidepost to have for your company. I recommend that you ask your favorite AI what the TAM is for your industry in your area. So let's do a quick review. We've talked about TAM. We've talked about total revenue. This is how much money's coming into a company. And in general, the people I work with know this number pretty darn well. The net profit is what you keep after all your expenses are taken out. Now, your expenses are all the costs that are involved with running your company, of course. And in my experience, most business owners need to put a little bit more time and attention into controlling their expenses. Now, I recommend you make a little bit of a note about that. There are a lot of financial metrics I'm not going to go into detail in this video, and some of these are gross profit, accounts receivable, accounts past due, cash flow, loans and investor payback schedules, and for startups, burn rate and cash runway, just to name a few. It's not that these and other numbers are not important. It's just that I'm going to move on to talk about metrics that I think are even more crucial to most businesses. These are often called KPIs or key performance indicators. We've discussed TAM, so the numbers we'll be talking about are, please write this down, client acquisition costs, lifetime value of a client to you, sales conversion rates, client retention rates. I'm going to walk you through a simplified example for these highly important KPIs that I use in my seminars. At Rachel's hair salon, she charges $40 for a haircut and spends an average of $5 for hair cream and whatnot for each customer. So her gross profit on the top line is $35 per cut. To get new clients, Rachel signed up for a PPC or pay-per-click program with Google. An example of pay-per-click is when people do a search for a hair salon in Santa Rosa. In this case, Rachel's company comes up in the advertiser section on the results page of a Google search. When a potential client clicks on her ad to go to her website, Google charges her $2. To land a client, it takes 24 people to go to her site. So in this scenario, Rachel's cost per client acquisition is $48. Now, since her gross profit for a haircut is $35, her thinking is no way that Google PPC is a good marketing vehicle for me. And I'm guessing you know where I'm going with this because on the other side of town, Sandy's hair salon has a similar cost for client acquisition. However, she calculated a key KPI, the lifetime value of a client for her. On average, for Sandy, a new client stays with her for 2.5 years and gets a haircut every month. Sandy's average net revenue for a new client is $1,050. Armed with this information, Sandy makes a very different decision than Rachel. Sandy is spending less than $50 to make $1,000. This is an excellent ratio. Sandy can experiment with other types of marketing and then compare client acquisition costs through each medium. Types of marketing Sandy might experiment with are social media, organic search engine optimization, targeted Google ads, ads on the Bing platform, mailers in her zip code, networking groups, signage, changing locations, the list goes on. She can also experiment with the messaging in her pay-per-click program account and her website to see if she can raise her sales conversion rates. She can also experiment with ways to get clients to last longer than her current average of 2.5 years, client loyalty programs. The numbers we've been discussing, the TAM, the total available market, client acquisition costs, lifetime value of a client, sales conversion rates, client retention rates. These are some of the most important numbers for your business. Please write this down. Having a client acquisition cost that is substantially lower than the lifetime value of a client is one of the golden ratios in a business. So the question becomes, how do you lower your client acquisition cost and raise the lifetime value of a client? So we've talked about some of those things, sales conversion rates, client retention rates. However, Perhaps the key element in this ratio is to find the people in your total available market who are naturally drawn to you. These are your A-list clients. Rachel is 25 years old and Sandy is 55, and both their client portfolios are 75% female. Sandy would naturally cater to women 40 and older. For Rachel, it's 40 and younger. The 2020 census says that each of them have a TAM in Santa Rosa of about 90,000 women. Sandy and Rachel would have different messaging and ways to reach out to people, of course. Finding the people who love what you sell and will happily pay a good price for it and naturally provide repeat business and word-of-mouth advertising and generate very few problems for you, these are your A-list clients. Identifying these sorts of people in your total available market is crucial to your business success because it drives down acquisition costs and raises profits dramatically. This is a simplified example. I hope that has been of value to you. And we're now going to move on to the management section. And as we move into this section, I have a question for you. Before you manage your numbers, your employees, your customers, your suppliers, and any of the key stakeholders in your business, who's the person you want to manage first and foremost? Well, yes, of course, you have to manage you. Some say that self-management is the ultimate leverage point for business success because these days excellence in leadership is so rare. The science behind self-management isn't new, and it's certainly not fluffy. Psychologists refer to it as nervous system regulation, the ability to maintain a balanced and optimal physiological state in the face of stress and challenges. Athletes call it being in the zone, that state of peak performance where everything flows effortlessly, even in high-stakes situations. Organizations like HeartMath have extensively researched and developed techniques for achieving what they call coherence, a state of physiological balance and harmony between the heart, mind, and emotions. Whatever terminology you prefer, the core principle remains the same. Bringing your best self to the party sets you up for extraordinary things to happen in your business. These ideas are certainly not new. There's a well-known artistic rendering from the Zen tradition of a smiling man playing a flute while sitting on a huge bull with big horns. This picture communicates that we need to tame the beast within to lead a happy life, and that our inner world acts as a magnet to our outer reality. These concepts have been around for centuries. So why is it so critical? Well, imagine trying to lead a team when you're constantly stressed, unfocused, or overwhelmed. How effectively can you negotiate with a client if your emotions are running high? How can you make sound financial decisions if your mind is clouded by anxiety? Well, the answer is you can't, or at least not even close to optimally. Your internal state directly impacts your external performance. When you are regulated, coherent, and in the zone, you exhibit better decision-making, enhanced creativity, improved communication, and greater resilience in the face of setbacks. This translates directly into better client relationships, more productive teams, and ultimately a more profitable and fulfilling business. So how do we cultivate true habit change? Well, personal habits are an area you have to do to yourself, for yourself. Here are a few thoughts. Research from the National Science Foundation says that 90% of our subconscious thoughts today are exactly the same as they were yesterday. What does this mean? Well, it means it's going to take some time and effort to change these habits. So what habits are we talking about? At the core of this conversation are the mental and emotional habits that affect our nervous system. Ladies and gentlemen, our nervous system allows us to think straight or not, It allows us to perceive situations with rose-colored glasses or not. It allows us to be on our game or not. Write this down. The three key areas to focus on in this conversation are the level of positive self-talk that we speak to ourselves, the level of positive self-talk that we speak to others, and number three, making changes to our emotional home. How we interpret the world through our emotional intelligence is one of the keys in this area and happens to be a strength of heart math. In combination, these mental, emotional, and physical changes set up an up spiraling that helps your nervous system become regulated and happy, and this helps you become a more happy and prosperous person. The beauty of self-management is in its ripple effect. When you are calm, focused, and resilient, you naturally inspire those around you to level up. This is true leadership. When this happens, your employees feel secure and motivated. Your clients trust you more. Your stakeholders see a leader who is in control and capable. This isn't about being stoic or emotionless. It's about having the capacity to choose your response rather than being dictated by subconscious reactivity. It's about showing up as the best version of yourself consistently. It has been ingrained in us to chase numbers, strategies, and external opportunities. And this is the road to burnout and becoming an adrenaline junkie. These afflictions are rampant in the business world these days. Let's not forget the most powerful leverage point of all, the management of ourselves, investing in your personal well-being, your emotional intelligence, and your ability to regulate your internal state is not a distraction from business in any way. It is the very foundation upon which business success is built. So I encourage you to prioritize this vital skill. Your business, your customers, your team, your family, and your own well-being will thank you for it. Now we're going to move on to discuss the unseen advantage, tapping into your quantum potential, also known as your higher power for business breakthroughs. To begin, let's talk about the myth of the special few. Most people I know are driven to create something special in their businesses and their lives. And we often look at figures like Steve Jobs or Thomas Edison or Mahatma Gandhi and think, those people were special. They have something that I don't have. But what if I told you that the core leverage point that they all tapped into is available to every single one of us? What if the secret to their extraordinary success wasn't some innate, unreplicatable genius, but rather a profound connection to something far greater than what we have been led to believe is possible? Let's start with a remarkable historical example. Alcoholics Anonymous. In the 1920s, America faced a severe drinking problem. At that time, psychologists and medical professionals struggled to find solutions. Yet a small and unassuming group, Alcoholics Anonymous, emerged with a success rate that dwarfed anything seen before. AA boasted a success rate that was 5 times greater than the prevailing psychological treatments of the era. Their secret? A radical yet profoundly effective approach centered on connecting with a higher power. This is not about religious dogma. It's about surrendering to a force beyond ego and finding strength in something larger than oneself. That was their key differentiator, and it transformed lives where conventional methods failed. Let's look at some other examples. Consider Thomas Edison. He was a master at tapping into his subconscious, and he famously described his creative process as a blend of 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. However, that 1% inspiration often came from a place beyond conscious effort. He would often take short naps with a steel ball in his hand, positioned over a metal pan, as he drifted off thinking about a particular problem. Then the ball would drop, waking him, and he would immediately record the ideas that had surfaced from his subconscious mind. This wasn't a random dreaming exercise. It was a deliberate practice of mining his inner landscape for breakthrough ideas for specific problems. And then there's Steve Jobs. His employees famously coined the term reality distortion field to describe his uncanny ability to convince people to believe in and achieve the seemingly impossible. This wasn't manipulation, it was a profound conviction, an unwavering belief in a vision that transcended limitations. And these are the limitations and thoughts and beliefs we started to unwind in Section 2. Steve Jobs operated from a place of deep intuition and an almost spiritual connection to the potential of connecting art and technology. He bent reality to his will through sheer force of intention and an undeniable connection to a higher purpose for his creations. On YouTube, you can find videos of Steve talking about the malleability of this world that we live in, the reality that we live in. So what is it that you deeply want to create in this world? When you truly believe it is possible, you're halfway there. And how about Mahatma Gandhi? He famously stated that if you practice at praying, you can get better at creating miracles. And his life was a testament to this principle. His most celebrated achievement was leading India to independence from the British Empire. Up until that point, India was the crown jewel of the British imperial domain. What he accomplished through nonviolent civil disobedience and a lot of prayer was nothing short of miraculous. His prayers were not just words, they were deep intentions, a focused channeling of his energy that ultimately shifted the course of history. Now, you might be thinking this all sounds a bit fuzzy and mystical, but what if there's a scientific basis for the higher power connection I've been talking about? At the same time AA was getting going, quantum science was in its infancy. The revelations of quantum science echo what spiritual masters have been telling us for thousands of years. Basically, that miracles are possible. To a quantum scientist, the miracle of a spiritual person or the magic of someone from a traditional society is simply one of the low likelihood outcomes of a particular set of quantum probabilities that can be influenced by human consciousness. Ladies and gentlemen, quantum science is 100 years old. Isn't it about time we take advantage of this science? In Lynn McTaggart's groundbreaking book, The Field, she presents decades of hard-boiled scientific research that backs up the notion that what many physicists call physical matter reality is far more malleable than we often perceive. The book explores how consciousness and intention can profoundly influence the physical world, just like what Gandhi talked about, but in scientific terms. And then there's physicist Tom Campbell, who is seemingly equally adept at exploring physical matter reality as what he refers to as non-physical matter reality, or that which lies beyond the veil. And he is very clear that if a logic-driven Mr. Spock-like guy like him can upgrade his intuitive and psychic powers, you can too. So what does this mean for you and your business? Well, it could mean that the greatest leverage point you possess may not be your numbers or your ability to manage them. It may mean your ability to cultivate a connection with your higher power and use that in conjunction with all of the other tools at your disposal. It's the ability to tap into the unseen advantage, to mine your subconscious for breakthrough ideas, to project a reality distortion field for your vision, and to practice the kind of deep intention that creates miracles, small or large. You are not special in your capacity for this connection. You are special because you have the choice to cultivate it. Ladies and gentlemen, each of these three areas is a heavy hitter in your business. When you look at the right numbers in your business, the plans to help you succeed simply jump out at you. When you start executing those plans from a place of personal strength and being in control of your emotions instead of having situations and emotions controlling you, this is a place of true leadership that makes astounding things happen in your business and your life. And finally, weaving all this together with your higher power makes magical things happen. Synchronicities appear out of nowhere because your intention to raise the quality of your consciousness versus merely accumulating information so that you can get more egocentric material things becomes crystal clear. And your higher power loves this type of clarity because it evolves humanity as a whole and raises the tide for all people everywhere. These are the most powerful leverage points for any business anywhere. And if you'd like to take these ideas to another level in your business, here is one way to do that. To help people take their business to the next level, I've created a brand new program for business people just like you. It's a 12 to 24-week program that focuses on the 3 areas we've just talked about. I'm in the proof of concept stage for this. For you, this means that you can access this program for next to nothing, and that I'll work with you beyond the 12 to 24-week time frame to make sure your goals are achieved. Here is what you get in the program: 12 to 24 weeks or more of meetings with me to help you double, triple, or quadruple your income. The first 4 sessions are to harness your numbers and create the plans needed to grow your business. The next 4 sessions are about your ability to manage that plan, setting the foundation for an emotionally regulated nervous system and a non-limiting belief system. In this crucial phase, you'll have 4 meetings with myself and another 4 meetings with my accredited HeartMath colleague, Andrea. The next 4 meetings are to help you pull everything together and either establish or strengthen a connection with your higher power. You will have ongoing support until you are successful. When you feel you have turned the corner to your dreams, we'll record a video testimonial. In the future, the cost of this program is going to be $10,000 to $30,000. Because this program is in its proof of concept phase, the cost is now $1,250 without a HeartMath device and $1,500 with a HeartMath device. This device is helpful, but not essential. The idea behind the proof of concept stage for this program is to find out how long a program I need to give people to be successful. So you could be signing up for a 12, 24, or 48-week course. Only when you succeed do I succeed. My goal is to get a dozen success video testimonials. I can only do that if we all win. And I'm not opening this up to just anyone. We have to have a conversation, and I have to believe that you are willing and able to keep up your end of the bargain. The Leverage Points program is the first I know of that incorporates the 3 most essential aspects of any business. When I look into the future, what I see is that this is the way business is going to be done more and more because we need to incorporate quantum know-how into our lives. With that said, for $1,250, you could be hiring me for 3, 6, or 12 months of personal help with your business to make huge leaps forward. If this sounds like something you'd like to follow up on, please reach out to me to set up a conversation. You can email me at jeffrey@deepskymarketing.com or call my landline that does not process text messages at 707-823-3888. If you email me, please put Leverage Points for Business in the subject line. Thank you for your time.